Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and for the last week I've been driving the 2025 Kia K4 GT line Turbo. Up front is a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've driven the K4 before. Say that 5 times fast. That was, I believe, an LX, maybe an LXS. It'll be up on the screen. And that was a very mid-trim, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think that the K4 is a good car. However, this is the higher performance trim, the upper trim, the most expensive trim, and we're going to be comparing it to some of the competition because I think it really excels in a couple of different ways. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that inline 4 under the hood. Well, like I said, it's turbocharged, and it makes 190 horsepower. Now, that has been swapped out from the standard 2-liter non-turbo offered here in the K4, so it goes down in displacement, but it gains a turbocharger. It has been incredibly fun to drive over the last 7 days. It's punchy, it's zippy, and it offers a fun experience without A, breaking the power bank. It's not making any crazy numbers, but B, it also gets relatively good fuel economy when you're out of it. I was averaging upper 20s, low 30s the entire time I had it, even with beating the snot out of it every once in a while, so that has been joyous. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, for the turbo, they get rid of the CVT, so it is a true traditional transmission, and I really like that. However, there is no manual offered. The K4's predecessor was the Kia Forte, and that did come with a manual. You could find that in the GT2 with the manual. That was one of my favorite economy fun cars. However, they've taken the manual away for the new K4. Last but not least, the K4 is front-wheel drive, and unfortunately at the moment, there are no all-wheel drive offerings. So how does it feel to drive the Kia K4 GT Line Turbo? Well, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy this driving experience. Like I said, that engine and transmission are really punchy and zippy. They're not anything crazy. You know, if you're coming from a big block Camaro with a blower on it, you're not going to think that this is fast or fun. But if you're looking to get your first car, your first non-hand-me-down car, if you come from driving cars from yesteryear, like trading up from an '05 Ford Focus to this is going to feel like a rocket ship, and that's really nice. I like feeling that, and it's been joyous to drive it around. Visibility is decent. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's far from terrible, and the ride quality is a little bit harsh, but again, it's an economy-based vehicle, so I would fully expect that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. Now, I actually quite like this gauge cluster. I think it functions pretty well, and you can change the themes and designs, which I always love customization here in the gauge cluster. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our adaptive cruise and lane keep assist buttons. And off to the right, we have our skip track, volume, and phone options, as well as drive mode is actually down in the center of the steering wheel. Very odd placement here, and you only get 2 drive modes, so nothing really too crazy for normal and sport. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent, gauge dimmer switch, power parking brake, and traction control off. And moving on to the door, we have our heated and ventilated seat options that will come into play later on. 2 levels of memory seats, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do have our infotainment system. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. I think all of it works really well together and nothing too crazy beyond that. However, this is the backup camera, and it does get a 360 camera. Why this $32,000 economy sedan gets a 360 camera while the off-road Hyundai Santa Fe doesn't get one blows my mind. But hey, I don't work at Hyundai Kia, so I can't tell you why that is. Down below, we do have our buttons for the home map, search, media, favorite, and setup, as well as our volume scroller. I don't love this, A, because it was hard to find, and B, you just kind of have to scroll a lot to use it. I much prefer a knob. But we also do have dual zone temperature, as well as our fan speed and mode for the climate controls, accompanied by the climate vents and hazard switch. Down below, we do have USB-C as well as a 12-volt outlet, and I love that you could switch the USB-C from either charging or charging plus media. If you don't do the plus media, it will charge your phone a lot quicker. And we have a wireless charger, so plenty of charging options here in the K4. Then we do have the shifter. The shifter isn't anything special, big chunky button on the side, and it works. We also have auto holding brake, parking sensors on and off, and the parking camera button. Then we do have these really interesting adjustable and pop-out cup holders. So we'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and the front pop-out cup holder fails, but the rear one is actually larger and will accommodate the big friggin' bottle. Also, there are pockets in the doors that have this little bottle logo on them, and they also perfectly fit the big friggin' bottle. So that's a double pass here for the Kia K4 Turbo. Then we do have a center console and the seats. The seats are heated, ventilated, power, memory, and they are nice. I do say only the driver's seat is power. The passenger seat is still manual. Save money, save weight. But I like it. The seats have been a little bit hard. The bottom of them is just a touch too hard. When you sit down into it, you go, all right. But in my time driving it on the highway, driving around town, it's been comfortable enough. Would I say I'm getting pampered? Not quite, but it's comfortable enough to get by. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2025 Kia K4 GT Line Turbo. Quite the mouthful. And a couple of things to note. First of all, this is my driving position, and my knees are coming close to hitting the seat. If I move them a little bit, it's fine. It's okay. Down below, I do get 2 climate vents. Very nice to see that, as well as 2 USB-C chargers. We also have a center console back here with 2 cup holders. And overall, I fit. Is this the most spacious back seat? No, but the K4 is the smallest vehicle that they make. They got rid of the Rio, they got rid of the Forte. So this is it. And it's still not bad at that price point, at this price point. So that's very nice to see. But let's hop into the back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Right around the back of the Kia K4 GT Line Turbo, we do have this big chunky button right in the middle of the bumper, and you pull it up like this. Nothing really too crazy, interesting, or exciting about the rear trunk space, but here it is. I think you can fit plenty of essentials in here for a road trip. If you're renting one at the counter at DFW, I think you'll be able to fit all of your luggage in here as well. We do get these handles up here to release the back seats to allow for pass-through, which is very nice. Not all cars include that, so definitely nice to see. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is a very split feeling on the K4. I think it looks relatively good. I think it looks at least fine enough. It's passing, and I can get behind that. A lot of other people say that's ugly, say it's a downgrade from the Forte. It's gonna be up to your own taste. I personally think it's fine. However, with that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Kia K4 GT Line Turbo for the last week? Well, I like this little car a lot. I think it's priced really well. I think it's fun to drive and has good features. But let's compare it to 2 other vehicles that I have a lot of experience with. The first one, the more direct competitor, might be the Honda Civic Si. The Honda Civic Si is the performance trim of the Honda Civic. It only comes in a 6-speed manual and has a 1.5-liter turbocharged inline 4. Then the other car I want to compare it to is the Mazda 3 Turbo. I personally own a Mazda 3, and while it has a massively larger engine, turbocharged makes a lot more power than both of them. We'll talk about why that is a good and also bad competitor. In terms of funness to drive, this is right up there with the Civic Si. It makes a little bit less horsepower, but it does feel punchier. Now, a big distinction is going to be that manual transmission or automatic. The Si doesn't come in automatic. The GT Line Turbo doesn't come in manual, so that might be a deciding factor for you. But both are front-wheel drive. Both offer little 4 cylinders. This has 0.1 liter bigger displacement than the Civic Si, and they're priced nearly identical. So if you want something a little bit more hardcore, I would go with the Civic Si. There's also going to be a lot more performance parts for it and things like that. However, something that this has is a power memory driver's seat. This has dual zone climate. The Civic Si does not. The Civic Si doesn't even have power seats. The Civic Si also doesn't have ventilated seats, and that's something I wanted to bring up as well. The Mazda 3 Turbo, maxed out at around $39,000, does not get cooled seats or ventilated seats at any trim level at any price point. You get it here for $32,000. It has a bigger, nicer screen than both the Civic Si and the Mazda 3. The interior quality feels a little bit cheaper than those. But again, for the features that you get, it's really nice. This has a 360 camera. The Civic Si does not. Hopping in the back seat again for a second, the Honda Civic Si is going to have a little bit more space. I think the Civic Si has the best space out of the Mazda 3 K4 and itself. However, I do get rear climate vents. Mazda 3 doesn't get that. I get 2 rear USB-C chargers. Mazda 3 doesn't get that. So very, very nice to see all of this. And so in terms of value, I think you get a lot more value out of this car than you do the Civic Si. Now, I would much rather prefer the reliability of the Civic Si. It seems like those hold together a little bit better than these do, but it might be a case-by-case basis. The Civic Si is wonderful and the K4 is wonderful, but I feel like your dollars and pennies get stretched just a little bit more here in the K4 GT line Turbo. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Kia for letting me borrow their K4 for the last 7 days. Huge thank you to G. Schmidt for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this K4, and of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.